All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. I have another video on the 50/50 hip hop thing. I want to thank you guys for, hanging in there with me on this journey. I can't believe I've been doing this, at least on this topic, for almost 8 months. Um, but I realized that it's a war. It's not just a battle, it's a war. And so, I'm in it to the end. So I appreciate those of you who are riding with me, who subscribe, and clearly you guys are interested in gatekeeping our culture as well. So I appreciate the support. And so with that, let's get into this. As you can see from the title, it's a black thing. That's obvious to most of us, but to some, it's not. And so, what we're going to do, one thing I like about some of the comments, the negative comments, is that it allows me to really think. It challenged me to think about how many ways I can prove my point in my position. And so, this video is going to deal with like really getting into the weeds, as it were, to really explore from whom this culture comes from. This culture we call hip hop. What is its roots? And so this is what this video is about, trying to determine that and to point it out. Okay, so let's do this. What we're going to do is examine who are the movers and shakers in hip hop, and who is the engine that fueled its growth. Now, that might seem obvious, that is Black culture, Black Americans, but for some, it's not. Now, we know that the culture existed way before it was called hip hop. It was just simply Black culture. But some people are confused and thinking because this particular type of movement happened within the region of the Bronx in New York, that they somehow believe it's a New York thing. And for some, they believe it's also a Puerto Rican or Latino thing. That is clearly false. Black culture, wherever it is, belongs to all Black people, no matter where they are in the world. Okay, so what we're going to do is prove that Puerto Ricans were not the movers and shakers in hip hop. For the most part, they were participants, and yes, they have contributed to some degree, but for the most part, they were cosplaying. And I'm going to give you an example of an individual who pretty much admitted that he was cosplaying. But we're going to get into that a little bit later in the video. So we're going to talk about the venues where hip hop kind of got its start, what group of people were facilitating these venues, making them available for hip hop expressions. And we're going to get into examining flyers. What does the flyer say about the time? Who were the people moving and shaking in New York City at the time? So let's start with the particular venues, or let's start with the brick and mortar buildings. Like, for example, we have like the T Connection, the Puzzle, Executive Playhouse, the Hevalo. Now, I know the Hevalo was owned probably by someone of Latin origin, but it catered originally to a disco crowd, and then it later was more or less for hip hop, and that's where Kool Herc played at. All right. Now, when we look at the history during that time, we don't see any equivalent buildings or venues, brick and mortar, where Hispanics or Puerto Ricans was facilitating hip hop culture. What we're able to determine as you know, as far as what I was able to determine, was that they were coming into our spaces. It was not that Black Americans were going into their spaces. This is what we find in the history, because you never hear them refer to a particular building or venue that Puerto Ricans facilitated hip hop. At least I haven't heard it. Now, proof of who were the movers and shakers in hip hop was the first record label, which was Sugar Hill, and which was found by Sylvia Robinson and her husband. Now, where is the Puerto Rican equivalent to a record label such as that, such as Sugar Hill? Where is the Puerto Rican version? See, the point I'm trying to make here is that in order to establish 50-50, you have to show equivalence. You have to show that what Black Americans were doing, Puerto Ricans were doing the same thing or close to the same thing. They were putting much meat in the game as Black Americans were. And what you find when you examine the history is that Puerto Ricans pretty much kind of tethered to foundational Black Americans in order to get their come up. And we're going to talk about some of that come up later in the video. Now, even when we think about radio stations, who were the people putting on rap music? Was it the Puerto Rican radio stations, or was it the Black radio stations? Now, I know you're going to have some Puerto Ricans say, oh, well, Mr. Magic, he was Puerto Rican. But it doesn't matter. WBLS catered to the Black audience. They played Black music. They didn't play bachata, salsa, the mambo. They didn't play that. They played hip hop, at least what Mr. Magic did. So I know there are going to be some Puerto Ricans go, oh, well, he was Puerto Rican. That doesn't mean 50-50. That doesn't mean 50-50. So it's about what were the institutions in place that facilitated the growth of hip hop. Was it Puerto Rican institutions or was it Black institutions? Now, what I decided to do is go online, pull a few flyers from the period to kind of show what was going on, because that's how you can tell who were the movers and shakers during that period of time. So this was a flyer, it's actually from 1978, although it doesn't say it at the bottom, Saturday, December 9th. But when you go back in time and you see, you kind of estimate, okay, this was probably the 70s or the early 80s. You come out with Saturday, December 9th, 1978, this particular flyer, okay? And it was at a junior high school, 123, okay? Now, when you look at the flyer, there's nothing that speaks Latino, nothing. You see some of the names, Raheem, Chirac, KK Rockwell, Keith. There you see Disco King Mario and the Chuck City crew. Nothing on there talks about Puerto Ricans or Latinos. Let's move on to another. Let's blow this one up. This is let's examine this particular. Okay. It says Red Spider, Sunshine and Nubian Productions. The 6th Zulu Nation double night anniversary disco tribute to James Brown, Sly, and the Family Stone. Now, here you have all these names. Let's move this up. Okay, now look at the names that were so-called invited, special invited guests. Let me blow that up so you guys can see it clearer. Okay. You have The Funky Four, DJ Breakout, uh, Theodore, Grandmaster Flash, Furious Five, Fantastic Five, Kool Herc, Treacherous 3, Starsky Cool, AJ WizKid, Now here's the Cold Crush Brothers. This is the one example where a Latino is involved. But think about it. All those foundational Black American names, right? And then you might have a Puerto Rican inserted in some capacity. In this particular example, it's the Cold Crush Brothers. And probably Charlie Chase was part of that at that time in let me see what year. Let me see. I didn't even go find the year. Let me see. Oh, 81. So this is 81. All right. So let's go to another one. Now what I'm doing is just documenting what was going on at the time. Who were the movers and shakers at the time? Okay. Here's a Rap Alive production and benefit show for the children of Ethiopia. Ain't nothing about Puerto Ricans or Latin, themes going on. You got Grandmaster Melly Mel, Cold Crush 4, let me see, Sons of Bambaataa, DJ Africa Islam. Okay, special guest. Now here, again, let's blow that up because I think this is one where this is far, okay, there we go. Okay, you got Reggie Wells, Disco 320. Let's go here. Okay, I know it's something I saw earlier that caught my attention. Let me see if I can find it. Here, Rocksteady Crew. Here's Rocksteady Crew, right here. All these names, Black. And they invited the Puerto Ricans to come in and jam with them on this special occasion. Or it appears to be some kind of fundraiser event, So again, it gives you an indication of who were the movers and shakers at the time, okay? Pretty much Puerto Ricans kind of hung out with us. They weren't really making things happen in a big way, Here's my last example of a flyer. Here you got the Grandmaster Flash presents the Flash Show, starring Grandmaster Flash, the Soul Sounds Easy E. Got Flash, Theodore, Spoonie G, Starsky, RG, Kid, School Street. This is also Thursday, July 3rd, 1980. Okay, so here are another example of a flyer. And there's many flyers that are like that, but you don't see Puerto Rican flyers like that. So again, who were the movers and shakers at the time? Clearly foundational Black Americans. Now, in the earlier video, I critiqued Charlie Chase and his how he felt about being Puerto Rican or Hispanic in hip hop. Now, Ruby D at least acknowledged that it was a Black thing when he appeared on Lord Jamal's channel. Now, this is a quote from one of his rhymes. This tells you everything you need to know about whose culture it was at that time in the 70s. So, Ruby D is my name, and I'm a Puerto Rican. You may think I'm Black by the way I'm speaking. Now, think about that. If this was 50-50, and this was a Puerto Rican Black thing, why would there be a need for you to sound Black? Why would it be a need for you to cosplay Black people? If this was a Puerto Rican Black 50-50 thing, you could just be yourself. That was my argument with Charlie Chase. You could be yourself, Charlie. You didn't have to change your name to fit in. So the people in the 70s was clear where this culture came from. It wasn't until people from the 90s, like Fat Joe, started getting confused. But I'm going to play something later for what Fat Joe said that clearly indicates he wasn't thinking like that before. This is something new, and you have to wonder why the new attitude.
One of the lines that made the song so famous is when I go Boricua, Morena, and Boricua means Puerto Rican and black woman. That's like my love to the music, you know? My love to the, thank you to the black people for accepting Boricua. Thank you to the black people for accepting Boricua. Thank you to the black people for accepting Boricua.
Now, you guys remember that I think BSIA had Cologne on his live stream one time, and he played that for Cologne, and BSIA was arguing, hey, Big Pun is saying thank you to black folks for accepting Boricua into hip hop, and Cologne pushed back on it. Now, if you listen, BSIA was right, because if you listen to what Pun actually said, he said the love for the music. He's thanking black people for accepting Puerto Ricans in the music of black folk. That's what he's saying. Now listen to it again when Big Pun says my love for the music, because this is the context. Cologne argued that we took it, or we're taking those statements out of context. But the context is the music, and Big Pun says it. Listen very carefully.
One of the lines that made the song so famous is when I go Boricua, Morena, and Boricua means Puerto Rican and black woman. That's like my love to the music, you know? My love to the, thank you to the black.
That's my love to the music. That's what he's thanking black people for, because we know rap is black. Well, hip hop is black, but rap is definitely black. So he's saying the love for the music, which is, it wasn't break beats, because Big Pun was a big dude. He ain't breaking. Big Pun is not breaking. So we're talking about rap. We're not talking about break beats. We're talking about rap. And this is what Big Pun is thanking black people for accepting. Now, he's not the only one that felt that way.
Talk about lifting up Boricuas. So, the second person, I want to acknowledge Ralph McDaniels. I'm going to tell you why. Blacks never gave me a hard time when it came to hip hop. Actually, the Latinos gave me a hard time. I know when I leave this room today, a lot of you Latinos are not going to like me. But I'm going to speak the truth, because there's still a problem to this day. Ralph, you were the first African brother who played the video Puerto Rico music video box. Funkmaster Flex was the first DJ to play Puerto Rico. When I have given copies to a lot of Latino DJs, they looked at me, they said, "You crazy, I ain't playing this." Funkmaster Flex and that bum named DJ Red Alert, they were the first DJ to play Puerto Rico. They dared to play it. Ralph dared to play it. He said, "Nah, we're gonna pump this. We got the Latinos back." So it's kind of a little, sensitive to me when it comes to this whole Latino thing, because I went through a lot with the whole Latino thing. 1997, there's a 2-page article in Source magazine, and we talked about, Latinos. And back then I was very bitter when it came to Latinos, because I seen a lot of the doors, I seen the envy and the jealousy when it came amongst the Latinos. I was getting a lot of love from the blacks, believe it or not. And I have to really say the reason why I'm probably successful today was because of the African American brothers in the industry who believed in me, who said, Latino, come on, you're gonna roll. Funkmaster Flex is one of them. He approached me, "Frank, who's managing you? I need this Puerto Rican, DJ / producer, rapper, whatever, by my side." And Flex did. He said, let's go, let's do it. So really to start this whole panel off is, we still have a problem to this day. I mean, and we're going to get into it, more later on.
So here's another instance where a Latino got his come up from Black Americans. This is a common theme, with Puerto Ricans in hip hop. It's always Black Americans helping Puerto Ricans. It's not the other way around. So when you talk about 50-50, where is the 50-50? When one group is doing the uplifting and the other group is coming along for the ride.
What's up, y'all? How you doing? Well, this is my home. I got my start. I got my start right here in the Apollo Theater. It changed my life. It changed the life of so many people I've been able to bring into the hip hop game, whether it's Reggae Ma or Big Pun or DJ Khaled, who I discovered, or Cool and Dre or Scott Storch. These people, they all came from this family tree. I remember telling my friends that I was going to amateur night at the Apollo, and they all said, "You crazy, man, you going to amateur night?" I was like, "Yo, I'm going to be a rapper, I'm going to change my life, and Apollo's the place to change your life." So I remember coming in here, and I just walked downstairs, and it was about 100 artists, and I looked at all the artists, and I was like, "Yo, I don't even know what they're doing in here. Like, this is my night," And also being Latino, see, I don't see no difference between Latinos and Black people, but just being Latino in Harlem and winning amateur night 4 weeks in a row was a major thing,
Let me stop it right there, because there's a couple of points I want to address with that. Here it is, a historical Black treasure called the Apollo Theater for Black people. This is where he chose to get his come up from a Black institution. Where is the Puerto Rican institution that's uplifting Hispanic hip hop artists? He had to come to a Black institution to do it. Now, let me address this thing about him going down in the basement and he saw all these artists, and I'm sure 90% of the artists down there were Black. There is no way that Fat Joe was better than a percentage or 90% of the Black people that were there, because we know that Black people are the most talented people on the planet. So what happened? Let me tell you what happened. Black people are so, loving and embracing of other cultures and other people that we would rather crap on our own people and uplift other people instead. So if Fat Joe won 4 times at the Apollo Theater, it wasn't because of his talent. It was because Black people is in love with other people and want to uplift other people. That is that is a strength, but it's also a weakness. And another video, future video, I'm going to dig deeper into that weakness. It's hard to say that, loving other people or embracing other people is a weakness, but for Black people, it appears to be a weakness. And so I'm going to do a video on that later, probably in the next week. And we're going to take a deep dive into the psyche of Black folks and why they're so willing to embrace other people to the detriment of their own people. I digress. Let's continue.
And just the way I was always embraced. And Harlem itself is a place that, if you go back to slavery, they was trying to get up here to Harlem. If you go back to civil rights, the biggest statements were made out of Harlem. But this is black excellence for real. And the Apollo Theater signifies all of the above. And it's one of the greatest landmarks that we have in American culture. I can tell you a story I can't.
All right, let me stop it right there. You're going to talk about some other stuff. Let me say this. Does this sound like a guy who believes that hip hop is 50-50? This is 2018. So he wasn't thinking like that back then. You know, he's thanking Black Americans for the privilege and the honor of performing and getting his come up in a Black institution. If it was truly 50-50, you would be doing that out of your own institution. You wouldn't feel the need to come to our institutions to get your come up. You owe a big, great gratitude to Black Americans instead of trying to crap on their history and their legacy in terms of what they contribute or what they created in terms of hip hop. The nerve to say it's 50-50 when you come to our institutions. You can't make this stuff up. When you look at the history, they're coming to us for their come up. It's not the other way around. This is not 50-50. How can you possibly think that? But this is where we are. So again, we got to keep fighting. We got to continue to bring those receipts in. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So that's it, man. So again, if you haven't subscribed, I would love for you to subscribe. There's a lot of things I want to talk about. I think it might be of some value, some interest to you. So if you're, kind of, on the fence about subscribing, please just subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button after the end of this video so that more people can see the video. And until the next time, peace.